You lie, baby. You lie, baby. Greetings, 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 one and all. Just setting up the thing. We're live in the studio with Ras Frank out of South Africa, Azania. He'll be joining us shortly. Leave a comment to let me know if anyone's watching. Oh Lord, I am Boja. Yeah, you know them people love them tug of war. I still in the race, so bad. I still in the race, so bad. I still in the race, so bad. When time and yacht up this morning, yacht up this morning, in the middle of a quarry, in the middle of a quarry, people fussing and fighting. I'm not tired of explaining, I'm not tired of explaining, tired of explaining. Yeah, you know the middle of them to the wall, I still in the race, so far. I'm still in the race, so far. I still in the race, so far. Woke up this morning, get up this morning to hear some insincere talking, using good words without meaning, outcome remain to be seen, in the middle of the tug of war. I'm still in the race, so bad. I'm still in the race, so bad. I'm still in the race, so bad. Well, I'm on yard of this morning, to see the wood box still feeding, virgin earth still living, wood not seeded, and the wood not seeded, yeah, you know the middle of the tug of war, oh, still in the race, so bad. I still in the race, so bad. I still in the race, so bad. First thing in the morning, the sun just even, to break up good loving, using misunderstanding, yeah, you know the people of the tug of war, still in the race, so far. I still in the race, so far. I still in the race, so far. Yada this morning, to get neighbors this woman, turbulent speaking, things not worth repeating, in the middle of the tug of war, I sit in the race, so far. I sit in the race, so far. I sit in the race, so far. When life and wake up this morning, to traffic and road overcrowded. Yes, greetings, Sister Carla. All right. Let me bring Ras Frank into the stream.
Yes, I.
Yes, greetings, Ross. Can you hear me?
Greetings, King. Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
Can you speak one more time so I can hear you?
Greetings, my Lord. Yes, I can
Yes.
hear you very clearly. Yes,
I
I.
think this is my first time. Rastafari, give thanks. We might have a little bit of delay on the line because you are all the way in South Africa. I was saying
Ye-
that this is my first time using this platform, StreamYard. So in terms of the stream, I thought it was going to stream both on YouTube and on Facebook, but it seems like we're just streaming right now on YouTube.
Okay, no, there is no problem. I give thanks for the invitation, give Kimma.
Yes, so we already have. I see that one of my sisters from America, from South Carolina, is already tuned into YouTube. So that's good. But what I'll do is I'll keep leaving some links because I don't want to play around for too much right now. I'll keep leaving some links onto the onto Facebook just in case people who do want to tune in can tune in.
Yes, I, my Lord. Because on my side, people are saying they want to see this clip of ours, but the problem is that in our time it is in the midnight, so most of them they are sleeping.
Yeah.
But if yes, I
I will post the video onto YouTube later on anyway, because this will be recorded.
yes, I
Yeah. So from time to time, I might you might see me just pause a bit because I'm trying to make sure that people can watch it on Facebook also. Okay.
true. Yes, I, my Lord.
Yes. Good. Thanks. So let me just share that again on Facebook, just so people can tune in, and hopefully they'll tune into the YouTube. And please, if you are watching, leave a comment. Let us know about the sound quality. Tell us if we're coming in loud and clear. Anyone that is watching on YouTube. So I give thanks to you, Ross, for coming on. I gave you some questions as a thank you. Sister Carla says the sound is good. I gave you some questions as a prelude to the reasonings that I wanted to have with you. Let me do first a proper intro. Greetings. My name is Dr. David Roots, Ross David Roots. Some people call me Living Roots. I'm also have an Ethiopian name, which is Tesfa Selassie. I'm reasoning right now with Ross Frank Mtshali from South Africa, otherwise traditionally known as Azania. Ross Frank is a very outspoken on social media brethren who commentates on Rastafari and history. He teaches and educates about the Bible and as it relates to religion and as it relates to some of the ways that we within Rasta culture have looked to the Bible and whether or not that's appropriate or not. He also has significant reasonings on Rastafari culture and ancient Egypt, or Kemet, as we would prefer to say, and Nubia and Kush. And in Azania, from what I can see, he's also heavily involved in the collective movements to try to organize his brothers and his sisters, the brothers and sisters in South Africa, which has one of the largest communities of Rasta people. in Africa, much less around the world, is a very significant movement in terms of the Rasta people. So I'd like to introduce formally now the brother. I've never met him in person, but his spirit and his soul resonates with mine definitely. We were able to link up on Facebook. The Ras Frank Mtshali. So Ras Frank,
My lord.
I have to first ask, am I pronouncing your surname correctly?
No, my surname is Mtshali.
Ah, okay. So it comes, you have
Yes.
to, the M and the T is a specific sound to it.
Yes, yes.
Could you say it one more time for us over here whose main language is English?
Oh, my name is Frank Mtshali.
Mm.
Mtshali.
So
Yes.
yeah, that's something that the eye is gonna have to practice, because that's the problem with the speaking the English language. Certain combinations of sounds we are not used to producing it within our speak, within our word and our sound and our power.
Yes, it's acceptable, that one.
So as you said, right now in South Africa, it's around 12 o'clock, 12 a.m.
Yes, it is 12 a.m. in the midnight.
12 a.m. in the midnight. So I first have to thank you and your family, for staying up and giving the reasoning with me. It's 10 o'clock where I am, 10 p.m. here in London.
10 p.m. in London.
Yeah, on a Sunday, and I know it's 12 a.m. on Monday for you.
Yeah, to us it's Monday.
That's right. So let's get to the reason now. So
yeah, my king.
First of all, what I wanted to reason, because primarily this broadcast, I specifically know that people of Rastafari will have the primary interest in hearing our conversation. And so that's kind of where I wanted to direct the reasoning. From your assessment right now, in fact, where are you based in South Africa?
Firstly, I would like to reintroduce myself. My name is Frank Mtshali. I am in Free State at a place called Felcom. I am the chairperson of Free State Province of RUF, which is called Rastafari United Front. The Rastafari United Front is the organization of Rastafari that is fighting for the civil, cultural, and faith rights of the Rastafari movement. It was started here in South Africa, but now it is existing in more than 16 countries, I can say. Another issue is that I'm the PRO of RCC, which stands for Rastafari Continental Council, and on the Youth Council. It is the council that aims to unite the continent of Africa, specifically in the Rastafari movement. Again, I'm the chairperson of the organization called Pan-Africanist Congress here in Velkom. I am also the secretary of Nyabingi Youth Council here in Volcom, and the founder of the movement called the Conscious Society. Give thank you.
When you said welcome, is that WELKOM in English?
Yes, it's Velkom.
Gotcha.
It is pronounced Velkom, yes.
Okay. Because I wanted to just allow people to make sure that they can look that up if necessary. So
yes, I give thanks.
So I was asking you, is what right now is in your assessment, the state of Rastafari in your area in Welcome, as well as in the other major cities in South Africa? Is it stronger in one location than it is in others, or is it pretty evenly regarded around the country?
Honestly speaking, I can say the challenges that we are facing in Rastafari are almost everywhere, whereby people they fight or they have misunderstanding in terms of the dogma that are separating them. So here in Velcom, we do have different mentions, but yes, we do connect. But I could say the problem is that we are not in solidarity mentally, spiritually, and otherwise. So we are still facing challenges that anyone else can face, especially the ones who are abroad.
Understood.
Yes, I.
Okay. So you're saying that some of the similar challenges, because I see the reasoning that I see you post on Facebook, some of the challenges, as you said, between the different quote unquote houses of Rastafari, the different belief system. You're saying that is causing some disunity.
Uh, According to Leonard P. Howell, who is regarded as the founding father of Rastafari movement, in his book called Holy Pib, there is where he said that the root of Rastafari it is here in South Africa at a place called Kimberley. So our people, I can say they are fighting over that notion of saying that the seed come from South Africa. So here in South Africa, we do have different nations that are prophesying different things, but the issue is still the same. We are facing the same challenges because this RUF that I am part of, it is fighting for the rights of, it is an organization, not a mention, so to say. It is an organization of Rastafari movement that is fighting for the rights of the Rastafari movement, culturally, civil, or faith. So hence I'm saying that we do have different mentions, such as you in abroad. I do believe that you are still suffering from the different mentions. So even here, we are still having the same challenges.
Understood. So how would you say that the Rastafari United Front, has that been accepted and ratified by the different houses? Are the houses very organized? So, for example, obviously, most people around the world would associate, the Nyabingi House, the Bobo Shanti House, the 12 Tribes. Is there unity underneath the Rastafari United Front, or is it something that the organization is trying to grow right now?
No, the organization itself, it is solid. Even the leadership, our national leadership, it is solid. But I could say the only problem that we are facing is that we are having people who are having different perspectives. For instance, we are having Nyabingi who don't read the Bible. We do have a mention in South Africa called Bajihase. Bajihase, they don't read the Bible. So the RUF, it incorporates all of those mentions, whether you are a Bible reader or not. So I could say the challenges that we are facing is when they try to bring their religious beliefs on this organization, whereas the organizations clearly is not about a religion or what, it is about fighting for the rights of I and I. Because what we understand is that whether you are Nyabingi, you are Bobo, you are 12 tribe, the same, we are experiencing the same persecution from the government. Such as now we are still working with the bill. There is this bill that is drafted, that is proposed to us by the government. That is, it talks about cannabis. So it is RUF and other organizations that are standing together to make sure that the government gives the Rastafari community the respect it deserves.
So what I'm getting from you strongly is that the Rastafari United Front is meant to be a non-partisan movement to represent represent all Rasta people, and like sort of like an umbrella organization, and that
Precisely.
some of the challenges come from when different people within the different beliefs or different lifestyles and liberties want to separate themselves or assert those particular beliefs onto each other, and that makes the movement not really as strong as it could be.
Yes, because one thing that our people they don't understand, so to say, is that Rastafari movement is a mass movement, which means it incorporates all people who believe in different perspectives. For instance, if I am Nyabingi and I see a Bobo Shanta, I still regard him as Rasta. Even him, if he see me, he still regard me as Rasta. But even though we don't practice the same thing. So even in RUF, I could say it is an organization that is fighting for the rights of every Rasta, regardless of what the person believes in. So the problem comes when the people bring, try to bring their own personal beliefs in the movement, whereby they will separate whether through the Bible or what, because the Bible itself it is problematic. Hence, in South Africa, we have a challenge whereby we have those people who are holding firm in the Bible, and we are having the people who don't read the Bible at all. So it is an internal conflict that we are facing. So as I am saying, Rastafari United Front is trying to unite those two groups of people, whether they are reading the Bible or not, is to show them that they can come together outside the boundaries of their belief systems and stuff.
We are definitely going to have a reasoning about the Bible. I mean, you mentioned that several times already, because and I know that that is something that you often speak about on your social media, and try to educate people on some of the inconsistencies and some of the miseducation. I will try not to talk around it because we need to be direct. But so some of the miseducation that has come from us as a people, as Africans, using the Bible, and some of the separation that it causes, and as well as just the miseducation. So that's something we're definitely going to reason on. But so from what I'm hearing, because this is meant to really give Rasta people outside of South Africa a good understanding of what is going on there. That's part of what I wanted to reason with you about. So excuse me if I'm going on about it a bit, but so what I'm hearing is that within South Africa there seems to be a clear sort of distinction between Rasta people that are promoting the Bible and using that as a source of guidance and inspiration, and then there is another group or set of people that are not necessarily feeling that. Is that clear? Is that true?
Yes, that is true. The reason for that is because about 98% of the people who are Rastas today in South Africa, we have 3 million, more than 3 million Rastas in South Africa. So
You have,
about 98%,
hold on a minute. Did you say 3 million?
yes,
3 million Rasta.
in South Africa.
How do you know that number? Just out of curiosity, how have you come to that number?
I did confirm that number with the what we call the documentary that I was watching. They call that documentary "Holding in Rastafari." That documentary it was captured here in South Africa. The intention of that documentary is to show the different mentions in South Africa specifically. So I did capture it that at that documentary that in South Africa we have more than 2 million
That's
Rastafari people.
that's amazing. I hope our listeners are listening to that. I mean, I definitely intend to visit South Africa at some point. I've been to Tanzania, I've been to Ethiopia, I've been to Ghana, but I know just from the reasoning, from the things I've seen, even before I met you on Facebook, I know that South Africa was a very strong foundational place where Rasta is thriving. So that's very, that's amazing that you said it's the numbers that
Yes,
even higher than I imagine. So anyway, try
true.
to interrupt your reasoning. You were saying about the Bible and different groups.
Yes, I was saying about 98% of the people that we are having in Rastafari today, they came from Christianity. So as they say, it is harder to kill the mentality that these people carries because what is happening is that they come into the movement growing their locks, growing their beard, but the mentality it is still embedded in Christian doctrines. So it is the challenges that we are facing here in South Africa, whereby we have strictly Rasta people, but who are functioning in the Christian ideologies. So that is the challenges that we are facing.
Mm,
Instead of growing spiritually and mentally and otherwise, and some of them they cannot distinguish between Rastafari and Christianity. Some of them they do claim that Rastafari movement it is a modern day Christianity or an extension of Christianity.
mhm.
So that's why I'm saying this confusion comes from that 98% of Rastafari people, including myself, we came from Christianity. We used to read the Bible and everything it was revolving around the Bible. So now when we come into this new movement, instead of trying to rehabilitate ourselves, we are still using the same doctrine to validate the divinity of Emperor Haile Selassie, which is the challenges that we are having here in South Africa.
Interesting. Okay. You know, although there is, you have those divisions in South Africa, in some ways, it's actually a good thing to have in a sense. Division is never good. However, the reality is, I just want to show you that up here in London, right now, as I walk the streets in London, most of the time when I see someone that I would identify probably as a Rasta, a fellow Rasta, someone who has locks and beard and, you know, that sort of way, they don't even speak to the eye. So
Mm.
the fact that you have, you know, issues where people are trying to assert a specific movement is not necessarily a good thing, but at the same time, at least you have a discussion and dialogue amongst the people, amongst the Rasta people in South Africa. So I just want to let you know that for the South African brothers and sisters, that outside of South Africa, the grass might look greener, but it's not necessarily always as green as it looks. So the
Yes,
people should
that's
really understand that.
yes, I yes, that's true, my king. We are having such challenges here in South Africa. Hence, I'm saying the same challenges that we are. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything or to candy coat anything. I'm just talking what I'm experiencing on my daily living.
When
South Africa,
you're a student, right? You're still going to I said you were going to university as well, right?
yes, yes,
So
I'm also a student.
yeah, when you're walking through university or on the street and you see a Rasta that you might not, you know in person, is it typical for the two ones and ones to hail each other, or do people just pass each other by?
No, we do greet each other, but we don't uh, communicate about things that matters the most, so to say. We do
Mm,
greet each other when we meet, but we don't talk about things that matters the most. Mainly because every time when Rastafari people meet, they always want to talk about things that are separating them, such as Bible and everything like that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
hence, yes, hence I did say, mention earlier on that according to my understanding, Rastafari movement is a mass movement, which means it includes different people who view life in different ways because we come from different backgrounds. So instead of I and I to tolerate I and I and embrace the diversity that we have in the movement, we are using that as an excuse instead of fighting Babylon from the side, from outside, or the system, so to say. We are fighting each other. So that is detrimental to every movement. So I could say the only problem is that our people they don't want to tolerate each other, even though you are stating facts, providing facts to them, they don't want to take that.
understood, overstood, I should say. So
So
just to
true.
remind the people that are watching, we're having a reasoning live with Ross Frank Tshali from Azania. I'm working on pronouncing that sound of his surname. It's a sound that in English we're not used to. I'm trying to think of what because you put MT, so I'm trying to think of
Yes,
what words. It's more like a CH.
Mtshali, Mtshali.
Charlie, yeah. So
Yes, in English, that Mtshali, it means the planter.
the planter,
Yes, the planter. Yes,
you mean like planting food?
yes.
Mm, okay. All right. So the other reason I want, and this links to the reason that we was just having, was I always wonder, and I sometimes I ask you questions like this on Facebook about if you coming from. So, for example, I was originally born in a place called Bermuda. So that's an island in the Atlantic, which is associated with, it was a colony of Great Britain, and it was also a lot of, it's associated with the Caribbean also. It's not directly in the Caribbean, but most of the people that came to the island come from the Caribbean. So for someone like myself, whose ancestry is very mixed, because it is ancestry that would have come from slavery, partially from enslaved Africans, as well as from other people that would have been in the Caribbean. The rejection of colonialism and the turning towards Africa to look for knowledge of self comes naturally, because obviously you want to fight against the colonial and neo-colonialism that was put on your people. But for those people that are born within Africa, specifically in South Africa, which we can call Azania, I always wondered how they would link with Rastafari culture outside of the music and the external things, because there's such a strong culture across South Africa of different traditional ways of life. So could you explain how those two link together? How people within South Africa may have tribal links, or not to use that word tribal, but I'll use it here, specific South African cultural histories already, but then also linked with Rasta. Is there any commonalities between the two, or is it just a popular type thing? What's your reasoning on that?
Okay. Here in South Africa, my king, I could say we have commonalities such as we as Black people, we face the same persecution from the other races. So in that regard, we have went over the boundaries of tribes, so to say. Uh, a Soto person and a Zulu person and a Xhosa person, there is no conflicts amongst themselves, because what they understand is that they are having the one enemy, and we are Africans, all of us. So I don't see divisions amongst ourselves in South Africa. Hence, I'm saying that okay.
Before you go on, you mentioned Zulu, you mentioned Xhosa, and you mentioned one more. What did you say?
Zulu.
You said Zulu.
There's
You said Xhosa.
Zulu tribe, Xhosa tribe, and Basotho tribe.
Oh, Basotho. Okay, the Basotho. Okay, go ahead. So
Yes,
you were saying
because
that there's a unity between them.
yes, because even here where I am staying in the province called Free State. So all of the languages I could say they are here. For instance, me myself, I am a Zulu guy, and the woman that I am dating is a Soto. So we don't see the traditional or tribe conflict among ourselves. What is important to us is that we see ourselves as Africans, and we are striving to build our family against other races.
Understood. Now, as you said Zulu, Soto, Xhosa. They all come with language, traditional dress, foods, spiritual practices. So my question is, for the Rasta in South Africa, does that mean giving up those ways of life and then adopting a whole different set of look in terms of wearing locks, idle living, music, or do the two merge for the people in South Africa?
Okay, hence I've said previously that in South Africa we do have different mentions of Rastafari, including the Bagiase. The Bagiase is the Bantu Rastafari movement, which banned the Bible, so to say. They are upholding or observing their traditional teachings. Uh, that's how they differ with other nations. They don't read the Bible and they observe their traditional teachings. So, hence, I'm saying some are of the Rastas who see it necessary to uphold the teachings of the traditions. They go to other movements in Rastafari, such as that one I'm talking about, the Bajihase, the Bajihase. So the Bajihase is the order on its own, but the characteristic of that order is that they don't read the Bible at all and they observe the traditional teachings, so to say, because these other orders they don't observe the traditional teachings uh, of that. For instance, this Nyabingi 12 tribe, Boboshanti, most of them they use the Bible to validate their living. So this Bible is in most cases it is in conflict with our traditional beliefs. So they find it hard to perform or to be part of those.
The reality, you hit on a very important point just now, because the reality is that for Black people, people of African descent around the world, whether they be the Australian Aborigines, whether they be the Aboriginal, various Aboriginal tribes of South Africa, West Africa, the Bible conflicts and ended up trying to erase the traditional ways of life of all the people, even for people that were not African. So when you go to China, when you go to Japan, the Christians there, people that have adopted the Bible, they end up basically leaving behind their traditional ways, whether it's in India, so on and so on. So I can see what you're saying in terms of, if you are coming from a place that already has a very strong tradition and culture and cultural practices, then when people try to then adopt, and it's not even necessarily just the Bible itself, because the Bible is just a doctrine, it's more so the dogma that comes with the various Christian what do they call, um, the different Christian factions, different types of churches and so on and so on, the different things that come with that ends up being an issue.
Yes, I. Yes, I. It is like that. Hence, I'm saying this thing of the Bible is now in Rastafari. People in Rastafari they are now using it as a tool to of division because they are fighting using the same book. And as you could see on Facebook, I tend to go back to the Perdem Heru, which is erroneously called the Book of the Dead. The reason for that is because, according to my understanding, that book it is the oldest book that is talking about the religious, so to say, uh, teachings. So it is very important for us Africans to go back to the African teachings instead of validating the divinity of His Imperial Majesty using the teachings of the foreigners. So, according to my understanding and according to my researches, the Bible, it is anti-African and it is a mythological book, and it cannot be used completely to validate history. So, but hence I'm saying I'm not.
As one, I mean, I have my own reasonings, and I want to focus the show on your reasonings rather than me give my own too much of my own guidance and wisdom on that topic. But just to add a little bit to that discussion, the as I put on my Facebook recently, my social media, I said that first of all, the King James version of the so-called Bible, that the British Crown actually holds a copyright, on that version of the Bible. So in other words, what that tells you is that for the majority of people around the world who use that document, that one particular document, it shows that it was actually written by a certain group of people, in this case, King James and his writers. And immediately right there and then it tells you that it's not a document that is meant for Africans. But of course, we know that there are many other, that the Bible is a collection of different works that have been put together over time, some of which are much older than others, and so on and so on. And the reality is that if people just go on the surface level of looking at the book that we tend to call the Bible as this one unit, then you're going to be confused, because it was never found in that way. It's just a collection of different documents, and many of them do have some different reasonings in it in terms of different cosmology, astrological sciences, and so on. But just using it from a surface value is something that is bound to cause confusion. So I definitely agree with you on that reasoning. We could be talking about that for 24 hours, so we're only going to be able to touch on it a bit. But in saying that, the obvious question, and I want to say to anyone that's listening to the reasoning, if you do have a question, just leave your comment, because I can see your comments and I will direct it towards Ross Frank, and I'm sure he will be able to answer. So the obvious question will come from some people, and they will say that you always hear that His Majesty, His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie, he himself used the Bible often in many of his speeches and his reasonings. So what would your reasoning be to that, when I'm sure you get confronted with that idea?
Yes, I. Oh, the reality of the matter is that people tend to confuse Rastafari movement with the personal belief system of Emperor Haile Selassie, which is Orthodox Christianity. Rastafari movement is a movement on its own, and Orthodox Christianity is a religion. So we cannot confuse religion with spirituality, so to say. So His Majesty, when he talks about the Bible, he's talking about the Bible on the Christian perspective, and us saying His Majesty is God, or yes, our God, is not on the Christian perspective, but is out of our observation as the black people. So His Majesty, hence I used to use an example of saying, if my mother is a teacher and I choose to be a soldier, that doesn't necessarily mean I disobey or disrespect my mother. So that is the same thing that happened with His Majesty. If His Majesty is an Orthodox Christian, a devoted follower of Jesus Christ, that's personal to him. That's not what made us to follow him. That's not what drew us to him. What drew us to him, it is what he represents, not what he believed in. So I often get the same question: why are we saying the Bible is not right, whereas His Majesty was crowned using the Bible, even himself he's teaching people to read the Bible and stuff. So the answer to that is that we as Rastafari movement, we are the movement of that is fighting colonialism, and we understand that colonialism came in many forms, physically, spiritually, religiously, and otherwise. So we understand that the same book that it is called the Bible, it is also the source of the colonialism. So it is the reason why we are rejecting the book. We are not rejecting the book. And also, when we reject the book, it does not imply that we are rejecting His Majesty or His teachings. No, we do uphold to His teachings, but what we are rejecting is the colonization, the form of colonization, the because according to the speech of His Majesty, there is where he say, we Ethiopians do have the oldest version of the Bible. But the truth of the matter is that even if the Ethiopians have the oldest version of the Bible, it is still the version because when I go to the dictionary and look at the word version, it means version is the copy of an original that is slightly different from the original. So by that meaning alone, it tells us that even that oldest Bible in Ethiopia, it is not original, it is also a copy. So we have to dig further than that in order for us to get our true history, our true knowledge. So hence I'm saying the connection of Rastaman according to my understanding, it is what His Majesty represents. It is not necessarily us uh, going to his religion. No, it is not like that. Because hence I'm saying here in South Africa, we do have a challenge of other Rastas who are saying Rastafari movement is an extension of Christianity or it is a better Christianity, better way of Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
whereby this thing, it is historically inaccurate to say so. Rastafari movement, it is movement that is it is the movement of the Africans at home and abroad, movement of people who are seeing it necessary that Africa must be liberated from the colonialism and outside forces. So this got nothing to do with religion or what. This is a rebellious movement, so to say. We are rebelling against the system. We are rebelling against the colonialism. But using a spirituality as a center of this rebellious. So we are saying that Christianity or the Bible, so to say, is not fit to us, is not fit to this movement, or is not fit for us to validate His Majesty. His Majesty is older than what I and I people are trying to reduce His Majesty to with this Bible. So we are saying His Majesty is not the God of the Bible as I and I are saying. His Majesty is not Jesus as I and I are saying. His Majesty is more than that. So that is why I'm saying His Majesty, His belief is what He inherited from His parents because it is something that our people they tend to forget. They think His Majesty invented Christianity. No, His Majesty got Christianity from his parents. So it is what he inherited from his parents. So us, the black people, home and abroad, we see something in His Majesty that is different from Christianity and what we come from Christianity, we come from Islam, we come from different religions, and we come to this new team, and we come to this new movement. And this movement is all about resisting everything that came with colonialism, including the Bible and their dogmas, so to say.
Yes, I.
Yes, I.
Yes, strong reasoning, and we hold a similar understanding of what Rasta is and the purpose of Rasta. I want to we're basically at the 1 hour mark, so I want to make sure I cover all of the different reasons. Like I said, I could be talking to you for hours and hours, but we don't want to hold the conversation too long because then it doesn't become useful. So I want to now extend the reasoning to some of the ways that I know you link ancient Egyptian, and when I say ancient Egyptian, it's not necessary to say it's ancient, but it's Kemetic spirituality and Kemetic cosmology. So I use the word ancient Egyptian to make it clear to others that might not understand what I'm talking about, that
Go through.
you spend lots of time trying to educate ones and ones on the importance of the symbology of Kemetic cosmology. Why do you think that's important? And how do you see that linking with Rasta and Rastafari liberty?
Go through. Okay. Again, it is established beyond the shadow of doubt that Ethiopia is the mother of civilization and it is where the life started from. And also, according to the book of Dr. Chick Antadio, he do tell us that Ethiopia is the daughter of, and Egypt is the daughter of Ethiopia. So the reason why I am using a Kemetic understanding to validate or to express uh, the connection of or the divinity of Rastafari movement is because Kemet it is where tangible evidence is located. Everything that we talk about in Kemet, it is there, it can be touched, it can be seen. So unlike other people, for instance, who are using the Bible, they are validating the divinity of His Majesty using the Bible. But the characters inside the Bible, all of them, they don't have a tomb. There is no evidence of their existence. So now I'm coming with a new fashion or a new way of viewing things that if we agree as people that the Bible is not African, why are we validating our history through or our divinity through the foreign book? So instead of doing that, I'm bringing the attention to the African manuscript, which is the Book of the Dead or the Perd and Heru as the ancients used to call it. So we are using the Kemetic way to validate the divinity of His Majesty, mainly because, as I've said, the tangible evidence is there for people who don't believe, so to say. So we give every what we claim is what we can show the evidence. So Kemet, it is also For instance, brethren, there is this high priest that I met this last Sabbath. He was telling the people on the same platform here on Facebook that their ankh is associated with homosexuality and it is not acceptable on their mention and stuff like that, you see. So I use this information trying to decolonize the mind of the people who are still shying away from Kemet because they think that Kemet is demon as it is demonized by the Western media. So I'm coming with the approach of Kemet because Kemet is the closest is closer to Nubi. So when I'm talking about Kemet, I'm also referring to Nubi. I'm not talking about Kemet because I'm trying to
He's freezing up. Hopefully, because he was just getting into some of the crucial reasonings regarding Kemet and how Ross Frank uses Kemet. So hopefully he reconnects. Let's see if I can get him back on. Just sending him the link again. You have to appreciate that he's in South Africa. South Africa is 2 hours ahead of me, and I'm in London. So right now, for him, it's basically 1 a.m. in the morning. I'm sure the signal is not the best where he is. So hopefully he's able to rejoin. Possibly his battery might have died also. I think that's possibly what might have happened, that his battery yes, give thanks, Ross Kyle. I think possibly his battery might have died. And just as we was getting to the part that I really, really wanted to hear his reasonings on regarding Kemet, what he was saying is, and then I'll finish the reasoning, and then if he doesn't join back, then I will end the stream and maybe get him back another time. He was talking about Kemet, and that for him, that Kemet is when he speaks about Kemet on his Facebook, which he does a lot. If I knew how to share my screen, let's see if I can do this. Let's see, Chrome tab, here we go. So I can share, let's see, entire screen. Let's try it. Yeah, so I'm sharing my screen now. I think he's just joined us. So you should be able to see, I believe. Even for his profile pic, his Facebook cover, you see he has a a relief from ancient Egypt and his reasonings on his page. Lots of reasonings. But I know here he starts to talk about the scarab beetle and the orb depicted on the orb of Emperor Haile Selassie. Here he has a picture of Horus. So he goes up on Kemet. So let's see if we can get him back. Yes, we have you back. Did your battery die?
Yes, my battery died and I was
Can
still
you,
charging the phone. I didn't, but I'm back.
yes, I figured that's what happened, that your battery was dying. So I was just showing some of the, I was just showing some of the viewers some of the information that you have put on your Facebook in regards to Kemet and ancient Egypt. And you were saying how for you, you made a very good point for you that Kemet is the closest reasoning that we have in regards to, oh, my poster fell down, that we have to Nubia. So hence why you talk about Kemet, because that allows insight into ancient Nubian culture. And with ancient Nubian culture, also to ancient Ethiopian. And when I say Ethiopian, I don't mean the political, geopolitical Ethiopia. I mean Ethiopian meaning the ancient African people. By talking about Nubia, we then get insight into not only the ancient Nubian culture, but also the ancient Nubian spirituality. So
Yes,
could you
sir.
continue that reasoning?
Okay. Yes, when we talk of Nubia, we must be remembered that Nubia it is modern day Sudan. Kush it is Ethiopia, and Kemet it is Egypt. So what I was saying is that in the ancient times, there was no difference between the three archaeologically and anthropological. There is no difference between Ethiopia and Egypt historically, culturally, socially, linguistically, and otherwise. So I'm saying the reason why I see the necessity of using Kemet to validate the divinity of Ethiopia is because Kemet is the daughter, and Kemet is where the tangible and visible evidence is located. So hence I'm saying I saw the necessity to use that to validate the divinity of Ethiopia, so to say, because most of everything that is existing in Ethiopia, in Kemet, such as the Medu nature, uh, also called the hieroglyphics by the Europeans, originate from Ethiopia. The pharaonic civilization existed in Ethiopia at least three generations before it was perfected in Ethiopia. The pyramid building, it came from Sudan before it came to, it came from Nubia before it came to Kemet. So I am saying the reason why I am using Kemet to validate the divinity of Ethiopia and of Emperor Haile Selassie is because it is where the evidence is located. The Bible itself, it is era. It is full of eras eras and plagiarisms that come from the Book of the Dead. So it is proven that the Book of the Dead is more ancient, more older than the Bible itself. So I'm using the older source, the African source, which is the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or the Hero as they call it. I'm using it to validate instead of using the Bible, because the Bible, it does not give us the clear understanding about uh, the divinity or about what we want. It got limitations. So I'm going over the boundaries of the Bible to validate whatever we are talking about when we talk about the divinity of his imperial majesty.
So on that reasoning, two questions that I have in regards to that. The first one is, do you see, as someone that is been born and raised in South Africa and been around, the history and the culture of South Africa, in your studies of Kemet and of Nubia and of ancient Egyptian traditions and culture, do you see any parallels, any commonalities between what is in ancient Kemet in terms of the symbology or some of the stories or whatever, and what exists within Southern African culture, traditional South African culture?
Okay. If you saw there on my Facebook, there is this post of the connection between the Nguni of Southern Africa and the Egyptians. It shows you clearly the glyphs where the cows are depicted on the walls of Egypt. Fuck, fuck. Please.
Uh-oh. He said his battery had died, so possibly he didn't have enough charge. Yeah, I think he's gone again. I'll give him an opportunity to join back. I'm on the broadcast. We've got about 8 people that were watching. Now 7 people, probably the people out there. Give thanks for anyone that is watching. Make sure you leave a comment. Give thanks to Sister Carla, who was watching. I know she's watching from the United States. Make sure you check out her website, Infinite Treasures. They make fine pieces of jewelry, specifically unks and copper jewelry and pieces that includes crystals. Give thanks to a good brethren of mine, Ross Kyle out of Bermuda. Excellent tradesperson, as well as importer of specific natural goods, natural foods, medicines, cosmetics. If there's anyone else out there, please make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe to David Roots TV, share it. Check out my information, please. Let me see if I can pull that up. I'm just getting used to using this platform, StreamYard, so I can see that it's very powerful platform. Hopefully Ross Frank joins us again before it's time to get out of here. yeah, please do check out my book. The Wealth Building Cycle is available in Kindle as well as in paperback. Okay, the 5 simple steps to building wealth. My new book also I've just put it out. Is now also available in paperback. Don't Block His Brilliance. You can see that's available in paperback and Kindle edition. I just wanted to see the cover. So here's the cover anyway. Don't Block His Brilliance. So make sure you check out those things. Check out my videos on YouTube as well. David Roots TV. So let's see if he's back now. Yeah, I think he's coming on now. It's not often you get to reason with ones and ones from the continent. So that's why this reasoning is very, very important. And we have to have him back on again. Can you hear me, Frank Mtshali?
Yes, I can. Yes, my lord.
Okay. So we're now 1 hour and 15 minutes in. Let's take about 10 more minutes and then we'll sign off and maybe we'll have to have another discussion.
Okay, no problem.
So you were getting into, you said you had posted something about how in Kemet that the pictures of the cattle and the cow is posted on the walls, and that you see something similar within South African tradition.
Yes, I was saying the linguistics of Kemet can be traced here in South Africa. Why I am saying that, according to Dr. Chika Diop, the invasions that happened in Kemet drove the Africans down to the south, to the places such as Ghana, Uganda, including South Africa. So the traditions that were upheld in Kemet are still going on even today, even now in South Africa. For instance, I don't know if the eye is familiar with the Khoisans.
From Namibia.
No, they're from South Africa.
Okay, yes, yeah, okay.
Yes, if you can look at the way those people are writing inside the caves, their way of writing is the same as the so-called hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphics of
How do you spell it?
how do I
XH,
spell what?
the Khoisans.
Khoisans is Khoisan.
Khoisan, yes.
Khoisan.
Okay. Got you.
Yeah, yes. I am saying the writing system of those people. And those people are indigenous in Southern Africa. They are the oldest people in Southern Africa. So I am saying their writing system is the same as the hieroglyphics in Egypt. You can look at the inside the caves here in Southern Africa. You will see the link. So what I have discovered recently is the language. Even in isiZulu, there are some terms that are the same with the hieroglyphics. They mean the same, they sound the same, but we are using it in the different language, which is isiZulu, which can be found here in South Africa. So I'm saying those people, they were drove in from Kemet by the invasions. So they ended up landing here we ended up landing here in South Africa, but we kept their tradition and our writing system.
Yes, I think as you can see behind me, I have some art pieces from Egypt, because I visited Egypt last summer. So I have, in Egypt, as you can imagine, you have lots of people trying to sell you different things, and one of the things that they sell you is they try to sell the tourists are these paintings that glow in the dark. Let's see if they. I don't know. I turned off the light, but they glow in the dark. If I was able to turn off the light, let's see if I could do it. Yeah, you can't really see it because even a computer light is making them light up. But anyway, my point in saying that is that from my studies, there is a definite link between the culture within South Africa and the culture that exists within ancient Kemet, including the symbol of the cow, which I believe they call Hathor. Just check that. Yep, the ancient Egyptian goddess with the horns, with the head of a cow and ears of a cow, and how the cattle is so very important as well. I think Ross Frank is been kicked off again. His phone has had enough. I mean, it is almost, what's that, 2 hours ahead, so almost 2:30 a.m. in South Africa. So I think his phone has had enough. We'll have to get him back on. I give thanks to those people that have tuned in for this reason with Ross Frank, representing the Rastafari United Front in South Africa, as well as the Conscious Society. Make sure that you subscribe to on YouTube. Check out my videos, also my products. And I'm going to reason with Ross Frank offline. And I think I also am going to call it a good night, even though we, as the Rasta say, there is no night in Zion. So to all those people that were here, Sister Carla, Ross Kyle, Doc Brown, give thanks to the other peoples that might not have put a comment. Your attention is much appreciated, loved.